Today's panel. I am so very excited, and we have a great panel, a great section of panelists with us from all across the US and in all different areas in their real estate career. And everyone has put a vested interest into building their personal brand, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Kelly, if you can bring all of our panelists on with me, I'd be extremely grateful. We have Sue Decker, ladies first, always. And Sue comes to us with tons of knowledge on how she's built her team. And we also have Gabe. If you were here yesterday with Joe, you heard Gabe, you heard him tell his story, share his secrets, and I'm so excited to hear more because unfortunately I missed it. And then also we have Trenton, and he has one of my favorite stories about really his big buy-in to building his brand. And Kelly. I'm waiting for everybody to come back up with me.
Everybody just needs to turn their cameras on.
Okay, if we can get everybody, here's Gabe, here's Trenton. Hey, Gabe. Gabe's waving, he's all in his studio. We absolutely love it. Trenton there. And here we got Sue, so awesome. And we got everybody in the house. So welcome. I need one more pin. We got them all. Okay, gentlemen, if you don't mind, Sue, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little about your history with the brand, and a little bit about your market, and then we're going to get into actually building your brand on our next go round, just so everybody can get an idea of who you are, where you are, and a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. I sure will. I'm Sue Decker with Century 21 Team Community that is under C21 Gold Key Realty in Marshfield, Wisconsin. And I have been in real estate for 25 years and with Century 21 for all of those 25 years. Yes. So it's been a very enlightening all the way through, and we've built an incredible team that I'm with now, and we're ranked right up there. We've got an award this year that the Centurion Society Award, so we're very proud of that, and the Pinnacle Quality Service. So
Pinnacle is one of my faves.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
That comes from your clients. It comes from everybody. I remember my first time when you get those two, then you get those great awards together. So awesome. And thanks for being here, Sue. Hey, Trent, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and about your location and your market that you're in?
Sure. Yeah, we're here in Northeast Arkansas, Jonesboro specifically. We're a town of about 70,000 folks, but due to the rural nature of Arkansas, we grow by about 3 times that much, maybe a little more on the weekends, because we're the only Target in town, or more importantly, only Chick-fil-A in the region. And so anyway, everyone kind of comes here from all these tiny little towns, and we're the big city. And so we're about an hour from Memphis, Tennessee. But yeah, great place, to great cost of living. So as you can imagine, as more people are working from home, lots of you city folks are coming to Arkansas to take advantage of our low taxes and low property values as well. So we're growing dramatically right now.
Are you plugging for referrals?
I am, yes. My number will be here. So
awesome. And Gabe, for those of you that didn't have a chance to listen to you yesterday, tell us a little about you and your market and how long you've been with the brand.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Gabe Mendez. I am out of San Diego, California. And I've been with the Century 21 Network and with Century 21 Award for the last almost 4 years. I love it. I'm in love with the mission statement. I'm in love with the brand, the logo, everything that we represent as a whole, the community. And my personal brand, we focus specifically on first-time home buyers and first-time home sellers. Big story behind it. Went over it in detail yesterday. Happy to share it later on today. Thank you, Catherine.
Awesome. And again, thanks everybody for being here, because I got the best of the best. I really do when it comes to building your brand. So I am going to bounce around, no rhyme or reason. I'm just going to start. So Trenton, I'm going to start with you first. Tell us really what was your buy-in. And I think you also are the same with Gabe and focus on first-time home buyers, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
That's a big part of your market. So tell us a little bit about really, when you came into real estate, what was that point where you really started to invest in building your brand?
Sure. I think what became evident to me early on is I started relatively young. I know there's people that have started earlier than me, but this has, believe it or not, been my goal since I was about 13, we moved to this town, and working with the real estate agent then, it was just, anyway, it was fun. And so that's been what I've been planning to do for quite some time now. And so I knew that this was going to be a lifetime thing that I'm building. And so I knew that the key to this is not just selling one person, one home, one time, and you know, taking that to the bank and being happy, but knowing that this is a lifetime of relationship that we're putting together. And so as I started to think through branding and what that meant is, we get the privilege as real estate agents to be a part of these major milestones in people's lives. If you think about when people are purchasing a home, it's always married with some major milestone in most cases, whether that's something fun and exciting, like a new, you know, marriage or new relationship or new larger family, new job. But then sometimes these milestones aren't as exciting, and it's time for you to really lean in and befriend people who maybe are experiencing loss. And so we have to step up that relationship and be more than just a numbers and figures person, but help be a relationship and a resource to them in those times.
Well, when you started building your brand, what made you think that you really needed to be just more than an agent and really build your personal brand?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that we focus on is really trying to be a resource for the client and trying to be a resource for you know, what they are trying to accomplish. And so when it started to when we started to think about branding and all of that, I didn't want to position myself as the one with all the answers, the one that just, you know, we'll figure it out. I wanted to come in as a partner to the hero of these stories. You know, we've talked about this. There's a lot of great resources on that, but trying to come and be a guide to people in their journey and making sure that we're setting them up to make the best decision for them. One of the taglines that we use is helping you make the right decision when with confidence, you know, when you're buying and selling your home. So it's not me. I'm not the spotlight. I'm not the hero of this situation, but we want to come alongside you as you are making this, you know, historic purchase and this historic decision for you and your family and what's going to set you up for the future.
You said one of my favorite words, and when I first interviewed you and had a chance to talk to you, you know, it was the hero.
Mm-hmm.
You're mentioning that the client is the hero. What gave you that concept?
So there's a quite practically, just early on, was introduced to got him Donna Miller. He does story brand material, and so really diving into that. And so as very early on, I was fortunate to kind of be exposed to that before I had a chance to build another website or put together a whole lot of other material. And it just made a lot of sense to me. I'm a fairly independent guy. I like to take things by the horns and do them myself. And so I know when I was purchasing my first home, if someone would have come in and, you know, tried to run the show and be the hero, I wouldn't have liked that. I wanted to impress my wife and show her, you know, hey, I got this figured out. I needed some help. I needed someone to help me show me what to do, but I didn't want to admit it. And so anyway, so that was some of that exposure. But one of the most helpful analogies that people use, or that he uses, is, you know, we want to see ourselves almost as the Yoda to the Luke Skywalker, or the Gandalf to, you know, the heroes in the Lord of the Rings shows. And so maybe not everyone will appreciate those, but those spoke to me. And so, you know, no one ever thinks about those characters, but they play a big role in these decisions.
Absolutely. And Joe Magnum, she's here with us. She put in the chat box, we had a great session that went over that story brand concept on Monday. And if you missed it, that recording is up. So go out there and hang out with it. And, you know, Trent, I'm going to have to work on you. brilliant basics. One of the brilliant basics is I am the master of their journey. And I think that's what you're trying to say. So we're going to have to get you using those brilliant basic words, but no, thank
Yes, yes.
Gabe, what really started you going down the path of building that brand?
Once more, Catherine.
Yes, once more, for those that weren't here yesterday, but yeah, really, what was your focus? I mean, a lot of agents just really focus on, one client, and you really put a strong focus into building your personal brand and having that presence across social media and all those other platforms. So really, what was that motivation behind it?
I'll piggyback a little off what Trenton said. So a big part of the decision to go with first-time home buying and home sellers was to grow with the family and grow with them long-term. One of my indirect mentors, he never mentored me directly, but it was Grant Cardone. I listened to and this is exactly my answer yesterday. Grant Cardone back in 2015, when I first got into the industry, I was blessed enough to be aware of who he was, and I took action, listened to his audiobook, read his book, took his course. And one of the things that he had mentioned was during the 10X was when everyone is looking left, you need to look right. And I applied that into real estate. And then I asked myself, well, what is everyone looking at? What is everyone teaching? What is everyone going after? And the message was not first-time home buyer. The message was not even buyers. The message was listings, listings, listings. Every single coach, productivity coach, every mentor, every team lead will teach you the same thing. Go after listings. He who controls the listings controls the market. He who controls the listings controls the schedule. He who controls the listing controls the commission. You earn more money on listing. The message is across the industry, and that's okay. Not a bad thing. But I decided to look right when everyone was looking left. And that's when I decided to double down on the first-time home buyer, first-time home seller. It wasn't that clear initially. I was confused with my brand initially. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be the luxury agent, if I wanted to be the move up agent who helped people from townhomes into single family or move up or move down. But eventually became clear over time. And that's what I decided to put all my emphasis on. So that was how it happened. The reason why I decided to do it, partially because of what Grant Cardone had taught, but secondly, because of the opportunity long-term to grow with these families. We all know that first-time home buyers turn into first-time home sellers. And if you set a really good experience with them the first time around, and you continue to drip on them, stay in connection, stay in contact with them over time, then naturally they're going to want to sell. And if you did a really good job with buying, then they're going to want to go to you. They're comfortable, they know you, they like you, they trust you. And then you have an opportunity to represent them on the list side. If I continue to market to first-time home buyers, then I have a big opportunity to pair my new first-time home buyer with my first-time home seller, double in the transaction, and then rinse and repeat. I wanted to make sure that in the very beginning that I was not in sales for 15, 20, 30, 40 years. That was not what I wanted. It wasn't fun to me to think of coming to the office every day for 8 hours and pounding the phone. The idea of door knocking every single day wasn't really that exciting. Open houses, they're cool, but they're not that cool. I would rather sit home, make a post on social media, do a few videos, connect with my group, connect with my tribe, and build that relationship. And then in 3, 4, 5, 7 years from then, be able to tap into that network and just have it grow itself naturally and organically. And that's kind of what happened. I stuck with that message. I've had a lot of people who have pushed me to focus more on listings and higher price points. And that's just not where my heart is. I have a lot more fun with people who like to do business my way. This is why social media is so important, because when you go out there and they get to hear your voice, they watch your body language, they get to see you interact with your family and your friends and your team and your organization, then they automatically enroll themselves into you and your business. Then they automatically raise their hand. It's the same concept with door knocking, sending out mailers. You're farming every day. You're hoping that they get to know, like, and trust you via a postcard, via a few cold calls and your tonality mirror and matching and the door knocking body language. You're hoping that they do that. And eventually you're hoping that they raise their hand and say, fine, you over everyone else. Well, it's just a lot easier just to be who you are on social media, market to the masses, and then let them self-enroll. So that's how I started, why I decided to move forward with it. And I'm just happy. I just want to have fun doing the business.
Well, and that's the best part about being a real estate entrepreneur is it gives you that flexibility to really make sure. And we don't do this job for any other reason other than we enjoy it. yeah, and what we can do and how we do it. And you said some of my favorite words. You said tribe. And here in C21 University, we have in a couple of our classes, we talk about, finding our vibe in our tribe. It's being able to find that group that you resonate with. So awesome. So Miss Sue, thank you. So tell us a little bit about your story. What made you, one, create the team, and then two, really work towards your brand?
Well, so when I did start in real estate, there wasn't, we're a town of 20,000. So there was a good number of real estate agents. And so I wanted to brand myself, not necessarily the type of client that I would want to work with, but to brand myself. I wanted my face to just be associated with real estate. So I had to go out and I did everything and anything I could possibly do. I did everybody's open houses. I took everything I could so that I created, when somebody saw me, they thought I had been in it for years.
Mhm.
So at first I just branded myself to make sure that that was associated with real estate. Then the team concept came along, and I love the team and I love being in a team because you're able to be available at all times, which gives you more flexibility to work with more types of buyers and sellers. Now, I love the listings. I love them all, and I love my first-time home buyers, but I'm probably more solid with the listing side because I'm very comfortable, and I'm also, negotiating is very important. So you have to have that skill, and you have to be able to keep everybody calm. And then the other two, they do both, but they really work with the buyers, and we're able to then service people better. But we are doing the same things. You just need to have your face everywhere, but over and above that, you need to be present everywhere as well. They need to know that you are involved. The name of our team is Team Community, and we truly are a part of the community. We do a lot of things for the community, and not so that we're getting recognition, but so that we are really doing what our hearts want us to do, and that's helping people.
Awesome. So now you said something in the very beginning that you really wanted to position yourself. So when you started positioning yourself out to the public, what did you want them, confident, reliable, what were some of those characteristics that you were really looking to convey? And what are some of those ways that you actually went about doing that? How did you convey yourself as being different from other realtors in your market?
Well, remember 25 years ago, we didn't have all of the wonderful tools we have now. So I really just had to give everybody, we had some very we had some very big agents in this town that had been around for a long time and have been established. That's probably the best word. So I would have to find a way to position myself with them. So I went out and like I said, did open houses. I took out ads in the newspaper. Then my picture was everywhere. And then I would be out and about and all different things. So that when I did go to a listing appointment, because again, remember guys, we had to sit down with our little book and show them what we were going to do, what I'm going to do for you. So then the question would come up, how long have you been in real estate? And I would say, this is my first year. And they would say, really? Because I would have thought you were in it a lot longer. And I said, well, then I'm backed by the company. And then I talked with them and really found out and connected with them on a level that was not just sitting down with scripts or paper. And that's really what it has to be.
You said something, and as we look at, and we get a lot of new agents, and as the real estate career is becoming more robust with more agents, a lot of the agents that attend our classes are really concerned about being that first-year agent. You seem to, we're very comfortable. You got out there, you put your name out there, and you embraced it. Would you have any words of the wise that you would like to share about, a lot of times agents always ask me, well, I'm so new, what do I do? What would be the one thing that you would tell some of our newer to real estate agents on today's session? What would be, when it comes to building your brand and starting to get your name out there, what would be that one thing that you ask them to do?
Well, I think for new agents that probably the biggest thing is that they don't feel confident in even like contracts. They don't feel confident in the basics. They go take their test, and their test is for federal and state, and then, you know, all the legal things. Um, they should be using the C21 university. They should be using the tools that are right. And this is, I'm not just, I don't work for corporate. I mean, this is important. I went out and got my CRS and my GRI, and I got it all in 2 years, every bit of it. I went back to back because it was, if I'm going to walk the walk and talk the talk, I have to do it. I have to be able to back it up. And I wasn't comfortable with everything, but I had all of this knowledge. That's back also when C21 did that training where they came and you spent a week, and
Yep.
you come out of that and you feel like, yeah, I got this. So if they just take the tools that are offered to them at no charge in the university and take that and cram it in, just take a week and go, I'm going to do this, they will go out and know that they can, because their downfall is they're doubting themselves first. Not that they don't have the years of experience, they doubt themselves. Don't doubt yourself, just teach yourself.
We teach that. Every top agent we ever interview always says double down on education. And Gabe, you're sitting there shaking your head. So I'm going
Yes.
to ask you the same question. What would you tell a new agent, going into real estate within your first year, maybe, or your first 2 years, and building your brand? What would your advice be on how they should actually really start getting their voice out and being heard?
I had an answer, a completely different answer until Sue said something and it just prompted an idea. And because I haven't been a new agent like in 5 years, I forgot about it. But no, 100%. I think that I know that my ability to go out and speak to people, call, door knock, which is how I built the business. I didn't build it on social media. I built it door to door, belly to belly, boots on the ground is how I built the business. It was strictly confidence, and my confidence came from being a student of the game. So understanding the contracts, reading them, attending all of the trainings, all of the webinar. At that time, obviously, everything was in person, but reviewing all the free material that was out there. It was literally just becoming a student of the game and soaking everything in. I think at that time, it was 80, it should be for most people, 80% studying, 20% execution. Understanding contracts, understanding the process, understanding loan types, frequently asked questions. What are the biggest fears that sellers have, questions sellers have, concerns sellers have, and same thing with the buy side. What is it that they're more focused on? Had I known that right off the bat, then I would have positioned myself a little better, because what would have happened was my dialogue would have changed. When I approached them, questions I asked, or things that I should have been more, our listing presentation, for example. At this point in my career, my listing presentation tackles like the top 10 greatest fears, questions that sellers have all together. So at the end of the presentation, there's no objection, there's no questions, and the price, isn't the commission that I charge isn't an issue because they see the value in what I have to offer. So it definitely is, as a newer agent, if you want to hit the ground running, spend 80% of your time becoming a student of the game. I pride myself in knowing the contracts, I'd say like 70 to 80%, as well as the attorneys who wrote them. And that's a big part of my value proposition when I'm speaking to buyers and sellers, and I show them. I pull the contract out and I show them, and I tell them that, did you know that every part of this RPA, the purchase agreement, there's a clause in here. Every single clause is because someone got sued over something, and this thing has grown over time. And that's the reason it's this big. So I have to know this really well. The boxes, the T's, the I's, I have to know everything extremely well to protect your best interests. So do that. And then regarding brand is simply your reputation. It's you doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. What do people know you as before you step into the room? New agents, before you step into the room, what do your friends, family, coworkers, ex-coworkers all have to say about you? That's your reputation. And as you walk into the business, that's your brand. Well, that brand there sucks. That brand there is consistent. That brand there, for example, best pair I can draw. This is what I tell all my team, all the agents on my team. I tell them this. I don't like coffee, me personally, but if I were to drink any kind of coffee, the first place I'm going is to Starbucks. They're the one of the biggest brands in the coffee game. They dominate a lot of my mind share. And every time I go there, the experience is awesome. The flavor of the coffee is great. They say welcome. They ask me my name. They write it down on the cup. And then when it's finished, they yell my name out. Here you go. Would you like anything else? Everyone's smiling. It's consistent. I know when I think of Starbucks, I think of consistency, and that's the brand that I want to associate myself with when I'm thinking of buying coffee. If you were to go to a third world country, someone you've never been to before, and you have two coffee shops, you can choose the one that's on the corner that's local, that you've never heard of, never been to in this third world country, or Starbucks. I'm going to Starbucks, man. I'm sorry. I'm not one who's trying to test try and have a, bubble guts later on. I'm trying to go for the consistent stuff that I know about. It's been tested. It's been tried. It's been around the longest. So your brand is what people say about you before you even enter the room. Everyone knows that Starbucks is established. It's one of the best out there, and it's non-negotiable. This is why they're around. So newer agents, study, be a student of the game, of course. And more importantly, your brand is simply what you represent, what you say you're going to do when you do it, and make sure that you use social media to get that message out there, to show people this is who you are. And if you don't have such a good reputation, or maybe whatever your circumstances are in the past, honestly, social media gives you this amazing platform to kind of refresh and to start becoming who you want to become. And one of the biggest things that I struggled with in the very, very beginning when I first started social media with real estate was I was showing people how successful I was. And I was showing people that I was this educated agent, and I had just gotten my license. And I'm going to be honest, inside, I felt like a fraud. But I had a mentor pull me aside and say, hey, Gabe, look, that's okay that you feel that way, because that's not who you are now. However, that's who you are becoming. And that's okay to showcase who you are becoming. As long as you are authentic, you're doing it for the right reasons, and you're not here to manipulate, lie, cheat, steal from people, then it's okay to do that. So what did I do? Of course, I didn't have a beard. I freshened up my look. I decided to do educational-based videos. I started showcasing more of my personal life, which I've never done before. More of my faith. I started doing more of that. I never did that before. And it was uncomfortable at first. And of course, a lot of negative comments and messages come along with it. You just have to learn to take them. That's anything that you do that's going to happen. But I decided to focus my attention on people who were supporting me, the fans that I call them, people who are commenting, cheering me on, sharing my content, saying you can do that. That uplifted my spirits. And then I started surrounding myself with other people who are on a similar journey, mastermind groups, conversations, text messages, and that started to build me up. And then eventually, what I did was I built my brand by showing people on social media what I wanted to show them. And that was, I'm someone you can trust. I'm someone with a really good reputation, a perfect 5-star review. We work our butts off 7 days a week, and we're really, really fun to work with. And that ended up being my brand. And that's the reputation. Now, no matter who you hire in my organization, in my team, you're going to get that same experience. And that's embedded in every single member and every single agent. So we start off with the education, we carry the brand across. And yes, I'm sorry. I don't even know if I answered your question. I'm so sorry about that.
You did, but you also brought up a really good point, is that you show that it's fun. You've got some crazy videos that I have been able to witness, with doing different things. You make fun of it, where it's very stressful. And years ago, there was a commercial that was out, and the people were kicking walls in their houses because they were trying to sell it and going through a real estate transaction. And it really highlighted the stressfulness, and you really bring that humanality down to it and fun. So I appreciate that. And Trenton, didn't forget about you. Same question. As a new agent, and also with building your brand, and I know that you really jumped into having a brand, and that was part of your mission as you came into real estate. What would your advice be?
Sure. Really, where I started is sphere of influence. That was the first place I went to. Again, a lot of that has to do with being small town, pretty much from here. But I started reaching out to literally anyone. At the time, I printed out my Facebook list and a Facebook friends list, and just started texting, messaging, whatever, everyone that I knew. And as Gabe mentioned, your brand at first is just purely your reputation. What do people think about you? And fortunately, I hadn't made any major mistakes, and so for the most part, people liked me, and so I might talk a little too much, but for the most part, had a pretty good reputation. So was able to just reach out and just say, "Hey, I'm starting this. This has been a passion of mine." As Gabe mentioned, your education and your ability to learn and pursue those things really helps back up what you already believe about yourself or where you're headed. And so basically reaching out to folks saying, this is something I'm pursuing. If there are any ways I can be a resource to you, I'd love to be, or any friends that you do. And so from there, I mean, I just did it. I didn't have any other big strategies. And from that, I mean, that led into relationships that I have now today of, guys from high school that I, wouldn't have necessarily expected to be in a position where they were, and come to find out he owns 3 rental properties and wasn't real pleased with his agent at the time. And so he wanted to talk, and now I don't know how many hundreds and thousands of dollars of sales I've done with this one person from just sending a Facebook message. And that led into much more fruit than I really expected. And so, working my sphere of influence and then continuing to make sure that I deliver on what I say and follow up. So what was very important to me is I know my limitations when it comes to providing consistent services. If I am running just off of my memory or my ability to juggle emails, I knew I would be in trouble. And so getting a system, so for me, it was a very consistent CRM to make sure that I'm putting everyone that I possibly can in there to, maybe that personal touch that I made today isn't going to pan out into a sale, 60 days from now, but what about 2 years from now? And so that was extremely important, is to make sure that once I connect with someone and once they're in my circle, they stay in my circle and we become, basically, friends. And I've kind of joked, my broker and I have laughed. We're very outgoing. We flew and visited another Century 21 office a few months ago, a couple years ago, and there was a poor guy stuck on the same aisle as we were in the airplane, and by the end of it, we all knew each other's life story, and but plugging everyone into a system where I'm able to provide that friendship with a resource behind it, with a resource of knowledge and help and all those things that we try to provide just as we're doing this job. So it's a lot more about that relationship, making sure that it continues. And as a young agent, knowing that that is a little more of a long game than it is just a quick paycheck, a couple months into the business. And so really taking that long view to make sure that you're delivering consistent service time and time again.
Now you tapped on to my next question, so I'm just going to stay with you right here for a second, Trent.
Sure.
You mentioned SOI, and as I teach classes and as we have agents come in, no matter whether they're new or building their career, they're concerned about tapping into that sphere of influence. Too repetitive, communicating too much. What's too much overload? But yet you really focus that really is. Your foundation is the more people you can build through your sphere of influence, keeping in contact with them, and leveraging, a robust CRM with notes and information. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure.
For those that just go, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to reach out. I don't, what's too much? And I know, and so all of you be prepared, because this is the question that's coming around. When you're with your brand and you're out on social media, where's your balance? And is there a too much?
Sure. I'm sure there is a too much, but I will tell you, I lean much more towards the side of things where if I get a message from a good friend of mine that, hey, we just bought a house from so-and-so down the road, that's my kryptonite. I hate that. And so I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that when they think of a home that's for sale or you know, a real estate question that they have, that I am their very first resource. I'm the top of mind person. And the only way that I know to do that without spending my entire budget on billboards and paid advertising and whatever that might be, is to be a friend. And as I mentioned, I'm a very social person. I love just chit-chatting and talking and probably to a fault, but just sending in general texts and just say, you know, hey, how's it going? How's the kids? And so one of my favorite things about my CRM is, sure, it's jammed with their names and contact information and the types of properties they're interested in, their jobs, you know, whether they're approved and qualified to purchase, but more importantly, it's full of their kids' names and what, you know, what their hobbies are, and you know, any new life situations that are happening. And so the when you wonder, am I doing too much? Am I being getting in their way too much? I'm talking to these people a lot, but what I'm not saying is, hey, are you ready to buy a house yet? Are you ready to buy a house yet? What I'm saying is, hey, how's the kids? How's you know, how's your wife? How's the new boat coming? You know, all those sort of conversations. And then yeah, at the end, that conversation about someone's new fishing boat might very quickly be like, oh, hey, I meant to ask you, there's a house down the street from me that just sold. What are home values right now in my neighborhood? And that quickly turns into, well, let's have a conversation about that. And so there's been multiple sales that start out as just Trenton being a friend that lead to Trenton being your realtor. And so to me, that's where that level of, sure, we are all in sales, but first we are all human beings and we need to be people and remember that there are people behind all of these transactions. And so yeah, I'd say that you can probably drive someone nuts if you're just trying to sell them a house, sell them a house, sell them a house. But if you're reaching out and just being a friend, I mean, good night. If 2020 has taught us anything, it's that we could all use an extra little touch, an extra little, how's it going? And so, I mean, yeah, I could go on, but I'll stop there.
But no, and thanks you. And that reminds me, you know, one of the biggest things that one of our past CEOs ever said to me that has always resonated is that we're not in the real estate business, we're in the relationship business. And you just second that. So Sue, I'm going to ask you that question. You know, with building your business, you know, was it your sphere of influence, and has that become your cornerstone, or what is your cornerstone for finding business and growing that sphere that you're tapping into?
It was not the sphere. It was people, a community. It was truly just caring and being present about what is around me and the people around me. Not that I didn't, of course, I want to be known as, you know, the knowledgeable, you know, real estate, but actually I'd rather be known more for my being genuine and caring, because that's the relationships that are going to carry through my personal life, but and the business. And that is how our team operates, is that's first and foremost. We will, of course, be providing superior service, but with that, it's going to be because we genuinely care about what's happening to not only that person or that transaction, but their family and the community. And so quickly on the social media, I completely agree with you on all that you said. And a good way, perhaps, if you know people don't have this already, you should have a Facebook page for your real estate, aside from what you have on Facebook. And not that can't come over, because we share it, but it keeps us from only focusing on real estate. We don't post everything under the sun on our personal pages. We share in our Facebook page for the team, we share all of community events, fundraisers, anything that could be helpful, tips, change your batteries in your carbon monoxide detector, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
But then you have that service, and then you still have the one, Trent, like you have, Trenton, and we have, that we go out and we say, hey, happy birthday, I see it's your birthday, or I see it's your, daughter's birthday, or how can we help with this fundraiser? Our team's hashtag is how can we help? That's
Oh,
our hashtag. So I think social media is absolutely important, but you should maybe have, I would recommend both. I don't know if everybody does that, but it's all free, so you might as well use it.
awesome. Thanks, Sue. So Gabe, SOI and social media, where do you see your balance? And how do you drive your sphere of influence? How do you increase your business?
So my sphere of influence, I add, what was that?
Oh, my dog's barking. I'm trying to find my new.
Oh, that's okay. That's what dogs do. No problem.
Oh, UPS just was at the door. They rang the doorbell. Like the unforgiven thing. Don't ring the doorbell. I need to put a sign on I'm on Zoom. Don't ring my doorbell. But anyway, so Gabe, talk to us about, building your SOI and your, everybody on this call is great in social media, but, I tried to friend you. You're maxed out.
Yeah. Well, let me find a good starting point here. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. So with looking at building your business, Trenton brought up, that he really focuses on his sphere of influence, and that really was his cornerstone. Sue shared that her cornerstone was really the community. What's your cornerstone in building your book of business other than just first-time home buyers? And then also, how do you relate that social media? And is there too much? And how do you balance that communication?
Got it. So I want to make sure that everyone on the call understands that when I first started in real estate, I didn't start with social media. I started with door knocking, and that was my go-to thing. I followed up relentlessly. I door knocked for 6 months straight. I planted those seeds. I wrote my thank you cards. I followed up with CMAs. I showed up with updates. I built a relationship, and I continue to follow up. I think those skills are essential. I think that us as agents need to know how to follow up, remain organized, and just be persistent. That's essential. And I'm glad that I learned that way. Now with social media, now my main cornerstone of my business is social media. All of our listing leads, buyer clients, listing clients, all come from Instagram primarily, and then Facebook. We stopped doing our advertising about 4 months ago, and they still continue to come in, all of the inquiries. Hey, we're thinking of selling. Hey, we're thinking of buying. And that was because we established a really good brand. What we do is we add all of our clients on social media right when they hire us. And that just puts a lot of pressure on us to perform. I've heard people talk about not adding the client until the transaction's finished. I believe that if you do a really good job at setting expectations at the beginning and letting the client know that these are our systems and processes, but this is what you can expect, that they're never going to blame you. And so one of the best examples, and I'm going to go down a rabbit hole for a moment. One of the best stories that I tell all of our clients is that I ask them this question. I ask them if they've ever been on an airplane, if they've ever traveled. And about 90% of them say they have. And then I ask them, have you ever been on an airplane where there's been some turbulence, either minor or major? And most of the time they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, we've had turbulence a few times before. And then I ask them to replay what happened. I ask them right before the turbulence happened, what was the first thing that occurred? And they all say the same thing. Captain on the intercom, please sit down, put your seatbelt on. We're gonna go through some turbulence. Everyone sits down, comes back from the restroom, and they go through the turbulence. And then once it's finished, I ask them what's the next thing that happens. And they all say the same thing. Captain comes back on and says, okay, you can take off your seatbelts, and our stewardesses will be around to assist you with anything that you need. And then I ask them if they landed at their destination, and they said they did. And I'm like, well, of course you did. That's why you're here. And then I remind them, hey, look, escrow and buying and selling is similar to that. I'm your captain. I'm going to navigate you through the entire process. And chances are there are going to be turbulence, and that's because we deal with humans. They're actually physical human beings who are buying your home. and there are actually physical human beings who are selling you their home. And in between that process, you have about 20 to 30 other people in the escrow and everything in between, and lenders who sometimes might get sick, may not feel like doing their job that day, and they're going to drop the ball. Things like that are going to happen. That's called turbulence. My job is to prepare you for that turbulence and to get you through it. And then once we're done with it, my team is going to be there to assist you every single step of the way. Does that make sense? And they're like, oh, that totally makes sense. So when things like come up when things come up throughout the transaction, I remind them, hey, this is that turbulence I was telling you about, but don't worry, this is how we're going to take care of it. And they all laugh it off, and we kind of just simmer down. That relieves a lot of the pressure from when we add them on social media, so that this way they're not thinking to themselves, oh, they're not selling my home, they're not doing this, they're not doing the other. We're in constant communication. We set that expectation up front. We add them on social media, so there is added pressure for us to perform, so they see us working consistently. And we add all of our clients. So that's the biggest thing for us. We add all of our clients, friends, and family members. So this is why I'm maxed out on Facebook, because all of my clients, I've added all of their cousins, their best friends, people that they worked with. Because when I sell the home or I sell them a home, I want to tag them and I want their friends and family to see it. And then that's where the law of familiarity kicks in. This is where people start saying, oh, I've seen this guy Gabe before. I've seen him I didn't know I knew him, but now I know that he knows my cousin, my coworker, my best friend, and he must be someone that I know. And I want to reach out to him too. So people are more likely to reach out to someone that they know and feel comfortable with it. So that's been my cornerstone, is all social media. I add all of my database on social media, so they're constantly seeing me. I comment on their videos, I comment on their photos. It's just a really cool, natural way of doing things in 2021. I do calls, I follow up with my clients via calls, home anniversary things and stuff like that. I'll send videos on their birthdays, but a lot of stuff is just done via social media. I feel like that's my database, and we stay connected in that way.
Outstanding. And I love that. And Mary Beth, I love analogies. And, I think a lot of people on today's call are going to steal your turbulence analogy.
Oh yeah, they will. That was my gift to everybody today.
It does, because through that real estate transaction, there's always bumps in the road, and that turbulence analogy is great. And again, it leverages that you're the master of that journey. You're going to take them through this process, and you're going to be able to leverage that. Outstanding. And thanks for that share. We will probably all kidnap that and use it in our script. And so my next question is, and Sue, I'm going to go to you. What's one of the things that you started doing that you realized wasn't working successfully? What we all look at when we're building a brand, and all three of you have an amazing brand, but we always seem that there's that new shiny object, there's something that comes around. Is there something that you started and found out it wasn't so successful? And what made you realize that? And what are some of the things that you do that are very successful?
I don't think there was one thing that wasn't successful, because it was touching people. So even if 1 out of 100, I did at one time do the recipe cards, and my joke was that I would not be able to actually tell them if it was any good, because I really don't cook or bake very much. So, but I would say that probably was at the time, one thing that I couldn't bank on. But then you just turn that into something else, because that's farming.
Yeah, absolutely.
So excuse me. So then I just turned it into something else. I think everything you can do, and it just needs to be within the realm of something that you can do that you're going to follow up with, though. You just can't be all over the board and then not be able to follow up with something. But, we do a lot of different things. We have a farm, which we do a magazine 4 times. We do the preferred client club, so that when we close, we have those coming to, through Century 21, mailed out. But more importantly, we're hands-on. For example, one of the areas that we wanted to farm, so to speak, we had made our version of May baskets, and it's an elderly area of homes. So we knew that they would understand the May baskets, unlike some newer generation that never had May baskets, maybe. So we did May baskets.
So, I'm not too far away from you. What is a May basket?
May 1st is May Day. It is you would make May baskets when we were little out of construction paper, and they would be filled with candy, and you would run up and put it on a door and ring the doorbell and run away. But they wouldn't know it was you. We didn't run away. We, but it was our version of, for this particular, to target
Mhm.
but that age group.
Yeah. And
So
when
instead of just throwing something in the door with our card on it, we went for a sentimental, maybe something that they remember doing.
something,
that was
a connection to their past. Absolutely. Awesome.
So things like that with all different age groups. I would say our marketing, the biggest thing that we do to market, besides, of course, the social media, which everybody does, is we just are hands-on. We cook meals for shelters. We volunteer for absolutely everything. We head up fundraisers for specific things that maybe a family member, has their child has cancer or whatever it might be. We will go to our local tavern that we know will help out and spearhead a fundraiser. So that is probably over and over. We just adapt to what is happening today. And that's how our marketing is, if that makes sense.
It perfectly does. Outstanding. So Trenton, is there something, and thanks Sue, and I like it because I'm getting, it's that connection with community. You're putting community first, as it even is in your team name. So Trenton, as shiny new objects come through when it comes to building your brand and doing things, was there something that you went down a path that maybe wasn't as successful?
Yeah, there's one in particular I could think of, and I won't call any names, but it was early on, maybe a couple, 3 years in, and I made that, drew the line in the sand early on, that I knew I was playing the long game. But you get the call about some sort of promise of leads or whatever, some sort of promise of tons of leads that are going to be offered. And at the end of the day, I decided, what the heck? I was finally making a little bit of money. And so I was like, let's just see if I'm having this much success with that. Let me try this system. And so about three full years in or so, really went all in on this lead generating system and all of that. Not that I think that those are bad. I know there's tons of people that have a ton of great success with that. But at the end of the day, it didn't work for me. I was spending more money than I ever had on marketing. And to be honest, I hated what I was doing. I didn't enjoy the job anymore. The year before, I loved just, this is dumbing it down a little bit, but I loved calling my friends and checking in with them. And then, that having that lead into introducing me to other folks who are wanting to do business and those sort of things. Whereas now I felt like a telemarketer or something, and I hated it. And so I was spending more money than I ever had, and actually my sales production was down from the previous year. And so anyway, that was a quick decision to pull the plug on that. It wasn't fun. I think one of our panelists mentioned earlier just how important it is to keep the process and keep the job fun. None of us have go into this just purely because of the money. I mean, I think there's easier ways actually to get paid our income. But for me, the biggest aspect of it is, I enjoy what I do and I like to have fun. That's a family value of ours, even at my house. And so when I kind of sold out for what seemed to feel like could be a quick buck, what it turned into was a lot more just trying to cram in that transaction, just trying to sell a house versus build relationships and just enjoy the process with, different people. So that was big. That was a big learning experience for me, whether in real estate, but then also just how to structure my life, make sure I enjoy what I'm doing.
We work too hard not to enjoy it. So absolutely. And I think all of you have shared that. So, and thanks, Trent. So Gabe, I'm going to ask you that question. Is there something that was that shiny, great thing that you tried and it really didn't work? And what lessons did you learn from it?
Mailers, they didn't work for me. So I stopped that really fast. I tried it for like 180 days. I spent a lot of money on some really fancy mailers, and they didn't work. So no more postcards, no more farming in that method. I don't like mailers. I don't like postcards, unless you're doing it in conjunction with social media, calling, and door knocking. I think that's amazing, because then you develop like an omnipresent type marketing, like guerrilla marketing tactic. But just on its own, I didn't see it to be effective. I just looked at my own consumer behavior. Whenever I receive postcards in the mail, I just throw them away. I look at it, glance at it for a quick second, and I throw it away. And so I spent a lot of money on graphic designers, call to actions, color schemes, the layout, what size should it be, a lot of time and effort into that. And I shouldn't have done that. I should have just kept it simple. And what came from that was the guerrilla style type marketing. So I figured, well, it may not be my focal point, so I'm not going to do it on a farming basis. However, I will supplement that with, in conjunction with social media, door knocking, and cold calling. So when we were door knocking prior to COVID, what we would do on our listing blitz marketing campaigns is that we would do a coming soon campaign. So every home would receive coming soon postcards. We would do coming soon door knocking, coming soon round robins, call the neighbors, and then coming soon social media campaigns. So Facebook and Instagram. The whole goal was to have these neighbors and homeowners see us when they turn on social media, see us when they open their door, hear us when they pick up their phone, and see us when they open their mailbox. It's like, dude, who are these guys? And we would have our social media handles on that. That was really successful, but I wouldn't do it by itself.
I think you're right. It's having that blended appearance, being there in multiple different medias instead of just having that one voice. So outstanding share, Gabe. And yes, and Kelly put it in the chat box. I have one more question that is on my list of questions to ask these three amazing people, but please start putting your questions in the chat box and we will get them out there and let you get your answers to the things that you want. So my last question that I have is secret sauce. Everybody seems to have their secret sauce of what makes them. And I think very much you've shared that, but what is, in 10 words or less, what would you define your secret sauce? And Gabe, starting with you.
Yeah, secret sauce is that I'm me and no one else can be me. And I double down on who I am as a person. And I just showcase that on camera to everyone on social media. And like you said before, your vibe will attract your tribe. And it does. There are people who are going to resonate with who I am, and there's people who are not. And that's okay. I don't want to work with everyone. I don't need to work with everyone. I just want to work with people who want to do business my way. And again, this is a strictly real estate conversation, but even friendships and things like that, this can bleed into that. So my secret sauce is that I'm me, and I think everyone else's secret sauce is that they're them. And if we just lean more into that, we press more into who we are, develop that confidence as a person, showcase it on social media, then over time, people are naturally going to gravitate towards you and say, man, I love their values. I love what they represent. I love who they are as a person. I can see myself having a beer with them afterwards or inviting them over to a family party, housewarming party. But they won't know that unless you show them. And I think that's via social media, we need to do a really good job at that. And my secret sauce is setting proper expectations at every single step of the process.
Absolutely. I love those. Okay, Sue, what is your secret sauce?
Don't operate out of your checkbook. Go to work every day. Get up, go to work until your work that you needed to do for the day is done, and start all over, because the rest of it is just going to happen if you don't worry about the numbers. Just be genuine. Do what you love to do. You're in this because you love it. Sure, we all have days you don't love, but you love it. And it needs to be fun and genuine, and the rest will absolutely fall into place.
So in other words, stay away from focusing on the dollars. Just focus on those activities.
Be present.
Be present. Love it. Okay, Trenton, tell us a little bit about your secret sauce.
Yeah, I think for me, what has built my business is just focusing on that relationship and just trying to, be the top of mind friend who they know they can trust and call. I've said it 100 times, 100 different ways, but at the end of the day, people know that they can trust me. They enjoy sharing my name with others. And ultimately that's because they know that I have their best interests in mind, not just this house, but the next house and the next house and the next house and the next house and anything in between, that might or might not be real estate related. It's just, yeah, be consistent, be trustworthy, and I think the rest will come.
Okay, I have a question that came. What's the craziest thing that you can say that you've possibly done, whether on social media, in the community? What is that one thing that was really pushed you to be outside of yourself? And let's go to Sue.
No, boy. Oh gosh, Catherine, this is tough because honestly, I'm just always myself, and sometimes that is crazy in itself. So I don't think there's ever one thing I could pin it to of just, I mean, we just always go out and have fun. And if it entails doing something that we've never done before, other than bungee jumping or parachuting, then I'm in. And nothing, no heights. Gosh, I honestly don't have one thing that I can think that is crazy because I just kind of operate out of the box anyway. So not a very good answer. I'm sorry.
What's a traditional out of the box for Sue?
I don't know. I honestly, I don't have anything I wouldn't do or wouldn't be a part of unless it was against my integrity. So.
Okay, Gabe, what's something that you've done that you would say that was a little out of the box for you?
I did the floss dance all over my client's house and on their bed with my shoes on.
You did.
For
Okay,
a listing
wait.
video.
I
For a
think I
listing
see
video.
parts of that video where you were doing the floss dance.
Yeah,
So
and then that ended up going viral, which is pretty cool. And that kind of launched me into the social media thing.
okay, tell us a little bit more about it. So you were on their bed? No.
I had a lot of people. It was. I had a lot of people comment and message me and said, a lot of people who were serious about it and a lot of people who would take a joke, but a lot of people who were talking about, that's so disrespectful. How could you have your shoes on their daughter's bed? How could you have shoes on their bed, dance everywhere like that? And then yeah, people were like, oh, that was pretty awesome. The idea came about, one of our friends, we were just talking about just doing different style of video marketing. And this was back in like 2017. When it was, everyone was still doing the kind of stale stuff where you're standing in a home and, hey, welcome to this home here. We're like, we gotta do something different. Why don't we dance? Why don't we do the floss dance? And so I just stood in the center of the screen. I floss danced across the entire house, bed, couch, chair, bathtub, hallway, backyard. I almost did the roof, but I couldn't get on. I had no access point. Otherwise I would have. It ended up taking off. Home sold off market, like 15 offers back when 15 offers wasn't normal. And that was really cool. That was a fun experience. And that allowed me to be okay with being bold on social media.
So you said it went viral. How many people or how many shares or views?
On Facebook, I believe it's 1.5. which back then was a lot for a viral video. And then on YouTube, I think somewhere near 100,000. If you go to my Instagram page, which is right here down below, go to the Instagram page. If you click on the link that's in my bio, it's the first video that's there and you'll see it. It'll redirect and you guys can watch that. A good throwback.
I like that. And thanks for that share. I don't know if I could go on video doing the floss dance. My niece did teach it to me, so I do know it, but
you got to give it a shot, Catherine. I'm telling you, once you floss, you can't go back. It's the best thing ever.
I don't know. Joe was on this call. I could get in trouble for that one. So Trenton, is there something that you've done that was really out of the box? And if so, what was it? Was it a success, and how did it come about?
Sure. I don't know that I can compete with that much, but one of my favorite just social media things that we've done that I did was communicating that resource throughout the life. And so I had a call from a client and they were headed out of town and they were new to the area and I was the one guy that they knew in our city. And so they called me and they were leaving town, and there was some showings set up. We're selling their house, and there was something, they didn't know what it was, in their little screened in porch area. And so they asked me to go take care of it. So I'm not a pest control expert. I'm sure there are better folks out there. Well, I show up and find find a baby raccoon sleeping in their stroller that they had just stored in this little thing. And so my brain immediately snaps to Facebook Live. And so I start documenting the whole thing and tell them about the story. And and I end up going and getting the little raccoon down its stroller, and it's just content. It kind of wakes up a little bit, and but then it's like, all right, we're good. And so I actually walk around this raccoon for a little while people are asking me questions on Facebook. I'm answering them live and all that. And so anyway, we had a blast, just having fun with silly things like that. We do, goofy stuff a lot. Well, you don't get that opportunity too many times, but with that one, that was one that got a lot of attention, and just leans into that whole communication of, I'm not just selling these folks a house. If I'm your friend, I'm there. I've got your back when it needs.
When you're not.
Yeah,
Awesome.
even when it's not as cute as a sleeping raccoon. And so
We had a question come up, Sue, and I'm going to ask Trenton to do it as well, because I know the minute Sue does it. Sue, can you do me a favor and put in the chat box where people can find you, whether it's what's your Instagram? Trenton, you can do the same as well. Gabe was a little bit more organized than everybody else, but people. Another one, if your best friend wanted to become a realtor, what would you suggest that they do about building their brand? What would be their first thing that you would suggest for somebody brand new, your very best friend who doesn't do real estate right now, coming into the market? What would you suggest them to do? Trenton, you want to take that one first?
Sure. I better have an answer for that, because I'm currently training one of my best friends. So so I better have a good answer for that. Where we started, honestly, was a lot in the training. And so they have been, before doing a whole lot, they have been shadowing and doing with me a whole lot. And so we've been, so I think it's extremely important, whatever, that's one of the strengths of Century 21, in my opinion, is there's always someone there, or at least in any of the offices that I've visited, there's someone there that's willing to kind of take you under their wing, help show you the ropes. And at the same time, I have encouraged my friend to not just hang out with me and do things like I do, but go to the agent who has been doing it for 30 years and ask questions to them. And so that's been the main thing that we've been focusing on, is making sure that they get the training so that they can have that confidence and the knowledge, not only from studying and those sort of things, but also even have some war stories to share. They might not be their own, but just the amount of experience that is communicated when you can share a story that goes along with a specific situation, you can pick up from, when you're brand new into the business, you can't pick those up from your own experiences. You can collect them from others and just say, yeah, this guy in our office, this happened and this is how they resolved it. And anyway, it's been fun, because we're now in the side of training where I'm kind of more on the observing side of things with him. And so I'm getting to watch how he's handling these things. And so it's like, it's working. And so it's fun.
Awesome. And Gabe, you're next on my list. Now, you said in the very beginning is really, you focus on mastering the game, really getting down and dirty on knowing your contracts, knowing your paperwork, knowing everything, and really mastering it. Other than that, what would you advise your very best friend on some of the things that they should do about starting to build their brand?
Run. Don't
Run.
do it. Okay. Please don't join real estate. I'm kidding. No, not really kidding, but I'm kind of kidding. It's a hard business. So I tell everyone that joins the business, it's a difficult business. One thing that I strongly dislike is people joining the business for the quick buck and for the dollar. That if you go into it for that reason, you won't last long, and you're going to hate every single second of it, and you're just going to bring us down as an industry. And that's that type of mentality is responsible really for where we're at, with our commissions at 1%, 2%, 3%, 4% kind of stuff, because everyone's just out there for the dollar. And so if you're in it for that reason, the first piece of advice I'm going to tell whoever's asking, my best friend, is, dude, if you're doing this, don't do it for that. Do it because you want to have an impact. The money will follow. Money's just a byproduct of what you create, and that's the focal point. That's really the first piece of advice I'm going to give them. The second, once they get past that and I decide, okay, cool, this guy's in it for the long run, then I'm going to just have them go on social media and begin creating video content. So begin creating content on the home buying process, the home selling process, and anything educational based. So I have all those things kind of scripted out already, give them the scripts, put them in front of the camera, and just have them create the content and then just share it out with their friends and family. I have them add everyone on social media that they know, and that becomes their CRM that they work off of. So just creating educational based content, I think, is the best, because that establishes your authority, that establishes your expertise. And you want to be looked at that way if someone's looking to make a big decision. They're spending $3, $4, $5, $8, $900,000 on a sale or purchase. They want to make sure they're working with someone who knows what they're talking about. And the quickest way to do that is to establish it through educational based content, distributing it at a mass level. And that's the starting point.
Awesome. Sue, what would you tell your best friend that was starting in real estate?
I'll revert back to when I started. Just, be genuine and get all the knowledge you can. I am helping some agents with some training here, and they just need to be confident with themselves, but you can't do that without the most basic of knowledge. And get your education, go in and use the tools, and just more importantly, take the time that you need to be yourself and be comfortable. Don't become scripted. Don't become somebody else. This is your business and your life, and you're branding yourself. So whatever it takes to get there, take that time to get there. That's what I would tell. And don't take everything under the sun. If you work a certain radius, stay in your radius. Don't say, well, I have an opportunity to sell a $500,000 house 45 miles from here. I always say, okay, that's great. Do you know the schools? Do you know the neighborhoods? Can you advise them on everything about that community? Because if you can't, don't go there. So.
I love that advice. Absolutely. My real estate career was in Florida, and we have the East Coast and the West Coast, and our MLS pretty much covers it all. And you don't know from one side to the other. That would be like, Gabe, you managing all of California and being able to be, an advisor on that. So here's a great question that I like. And Trenton, thanks for putting that in. And Sue, thanks for putting that into the chat box, because they were asking. One of the questions that I really like is, what did you do different last year in the pandemic? How did the pandemic change your brand? What was one of those big shifts that you had to do? And Gabe, I see you're nodding your head, so let's turn it over to you.
That's a really good question. Last year forced us to do a few things. The biggest thing was creating more of a family culture within our team. That was I think that was the biggest shift for us, was relying more on each other. Me as a leader, I had to step up, learn how to create vision at a higher level, cast vision, create hope, and then create a plan that they could execute and see results from. So as a leader, from a leader standpoint, that was the biggest shift for myself, and then trickling down that that hope and that certainty, that level of certainty that we were going to make it through, and making sure that the team felt that. So we developed a very strong culture throughout last year. I mean, it really bonded us as a family, not so much a team. And here's a prime example. Our agents, they help each other show each other's clients. So if someone is out for a couple of days, then an agent will step up and gladly volunteer their time without compensation, without gas money, and say, I'll do it on my free time. And that was the result of a lot of team building exercises last year, a lot of phone calls, a lot of heart to heart. So for us, it really brought the human element out of us. That was a big thing. And the second shift also was creating more certainty within the clients as well. So developing a stronger relationship. One thing I love about Trenton is he's very honest about creating that relationship and going deep in those relationships. It did for a while when we were going high volume. Last year, I think it was 60 units that we did. It can get very difficult to go deep into these relationships with every single person if you have a high volume based business. So that a lot of the shifting that we did was bringing on an in-house transaction coordinator, an assistant, so that a lot of that administrative stuff can get removed from the agent's responsibilities and allow them to do one thing, which was focus on the client and give them 7-day around the clock attention and create that human element from it. So it was establishing the relationship, becoming more human, turning more into a family, and then myself as a leader having to elevate my game and staying ahead of the curve, because the pace of the pack is determined by the speed of the leader. And I had to make sure I was studying, I was researching, I was finding mentorship so that I can go back to the team and pour into them and let them focus on what they did best, which is building connections with our clients.
You said another, thank you, Gabe. And you said another word that I would like to ask you to expand on. We teach it in our business planning class. We talk about having a defined vision and having a vision that you can actually translate and explain and that people can see and work towards. So one of the things you said was you really went back and redefined your vision and looked at it. And so what were some of the steps that you did with that?
Well, the Bible, it states, a man without vision shall perish, and we have to have clear vision. And you wouldn't jump into a car if you didn't know where, if there was a location you've never been to, you wouldn't jump in your car without GPS and know how to get there. You wouldn't just jump in your car and just start driving if you didn't know where you're going, period. Especially us as real estate agents, we have our schedules to jam packed. So you have to know where you're going. And I told the team when we were establishing vision, where are we going? This is the vision that I think we should have. And I have a vision for the company, for our group, and where I want my brand to go to eventually. And so what I did was I asked questions that would prompt the team to give answers that would share that vision. So we had one day where it was a vision building day. We established our values as a group. We established our mission statement as a group. And then we established our vision as a group. And it was over a course of 2 days, a Saturday and a Sunday. Brought mimosas, I had bagels. And I was like, okay, guys, we really need to get clear on who we are and what we're doing here today. And so we established all those things. So the vision, we came through question asking, who are we, where are we going? And we asked every agent on the team, where do you see yourself? Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself? Where do you want to go? And then at the end, I said, hey, this is where I see us. And then does everyone agree with that? And everyone bought it and said, yeah, we would love to go to that place. And so I'll give like an actual life example. So for example, one of the agents on our team, her big vision was to have the freedom to travel whenever she wanted to, and she wanted to work when she wanted to work, which is all that she loves working. But she wanted the freedom to go out and do whatever she wanted to do at any time. The other one just wanted to remain busy all the time. But neither of them at that time, or still don't at this time, had a vision to want to start their own companies, their own brands, and go on. They just wanted enough business to do that. My vision was, which was bigger than both of their visions, which was, hey, let's eventually get to a point where we're closing 100 transactions, and our past database will take care of us. We'll continue marketing to first-time home buyers, and this will allow us to now no longer have to stress about business. Therefore, we can travel when we want to. We can always have a book of business continuously. So now both of their visions have been satisfied within this larger vision that I had, and they both bought in and agreed and said, yes, we're in that vision. And I said, great. In order for us to get there, this is what we have to do. We started reverse engineering it. Well, that means that we have to take better care of our CRM. Right now, we sucked at it back then. I'm like, we sucked at taking care of our CRM. So how is it that we can develop this business that's ongoing if we can't do that? That means we have to develop stronger relationships with each client that we're working with. Well, we're all TCing our own files right now, and we were outsourcing a small portion of it. We can't do this unless we do that. So it was my big vision, their smaller visions. I was able to fit their visions in mine. We reverse engineered it and created a plan and began implementing it. So that's exactly what we did.
I absolutely love it, because a lot of agents I find that skip that part. And when we teach business planning, we start with your vision and your mission, and then we go into your goals and then strategies and then action items, just like you said, kind of cross dissect it. So
yeah, and Catherine, it's so important because us as agents, you have to know where you're going. One of the questions I ask every agent when I interview is, what's your end goal? How many transactions do you see yourself doing? How much money do you want to make? And they throw out this number that has no association to what they really want to do or have. It's just something that sounds nice. I want to make $100,000. I want to close 24 transactions. I'm like, well, have you really sat down and thought about the time that's invested into that? Have you thought about the hours that go into that? Have you thought about any of that? And when we start peeling those layers of the onion back, we start to realize it's actually not what they wanted to begin with. They wanted to make enough money to pay their bills, help their family, travel a little bit. And so you have to have the vision as a newer agent. Where do you see yourself? Where do you want to go? Because that number one spot may seem cool at first, but I promise you, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes behind it. Are you willing to pay the price to get to that level of success that you want to get to? Or do you just want to be happy? And what does happy look like for you? And can we articulate that in a number, a sales transaction, a gross commission income? What does that look like? And so, yeah, vision's everything. You need to know where you're going before you wake up every single day and how you're going to get there.
Awesome. I love that because that just resonates with me. So Sue, being such community-based, when the pandemic came, that probably changed in how you interacted with your community. What were some of the things that maybe changed when the pandemic came into your market?
Actually, it put us even more into help mode.
I figured it would. Yeah.
Immediately we reached out and we wanted to volunteer for delivering meals to people who couldn't get out, picking up. We would do anything like that. We started, support your local restaurant, posting, and then the city posted what was available for takeout and how that would look. So we went into support the community mode, is really what we did. It wasn't even like, what are we going to do? Should we come into work anymore? It was all of a sudden, it was like, what can we do out there to make sure that however long we're going to be going through this, we can all survive. Coat drives, food drives, winter clothing, all of that maybe was not going to be so easy to get anymore. So actually last year was a record year for us in sales.
Awesome.
During the pandemic. So that was unprecedented, but so life did go on. I know, we didn't shut down. I know California, a lot of them, they really shut down and we didn't, but that's what we did here. We just flipped right into help mode.
Awesome. I love that. And it doesn't surprise me one bit. Trenton, what is something that maybe changed with the pandemic and how you started to do your business and to transact and to do those transactions and to stay in contact?
Yeah. So as reality hit, that, okay, this is a big deal. I remember I was in my living room and I just had this thought, like, this is an opportunity. I'm either going to thrive here and come out of this better than I was, or this is an opportunity to just make an excuse to bail out, whatever, and I don't know, go find maybe a salary job somewhere or something. But I remember just deciding, like, no, let's just do it. Someone mentioned when you see a group of people going one way, that means there's a need somewhere else, and so let's find that need. And so it seems silly, but we're here in the South, and we get to kind of look at other markets, and we can kind of predict the future and see what's happening in other places. And so just doing little things like live video home tours, and I would do a daily check-in of sharing things like that while people are locked in. We have the opportunity to mask up, go to vacant property, and do virtual open houses any day of the week. And so so started really leaning into that, really made some pretty heavy investments, even when we weren't sure how this was going to affect the real estate market before the interest rates bottomed out. And we decided to go ahead and put our money where our mouth is and make sure we have better video equipment and tools to make virtual life work better for our clients and those sort of things. The other insane thing that happened in our specific market is about 2 weeks after the lockdown hit in March, we had a large tornado rip through the main center of our city. And I'm talking, this is 6 o'clock on a Saturday night, tearing through the main area where restaurants, the mall, all the main places that all those people come to our city to gather. And because of the pandemic, they were all empty, not one person. And so it was this insane opportunity to really lean in, gather as a community. And the night of the tornado, I mean, I was up until 11 p.m. just reaching out, calling any of my past clients, any that I was currently working with, and really making that connection. And so this whole year has been a kind of a real community building experience, obviously for our town, but also and probably for our country in some ways, but more specifically within that sphere that I'm referring to, that we're always looking to widen. So to really lean into the fact that, look, I'm caring about you, not just whether or not you buy something from me someday, and so making sure we have the tools in place to do that, but then making sure that we're caring about the people that are using those tools as well.
Absolutely. We had Trixie put a question in, and I am going to put it up for grabs. What advice would you give for somebody who's thinking about building a team? Who would like to go first? Gabe.
Okay.
I have built. I first began building a team in 2017, and I did it for the wrong reasons. I did it out of ego. I didn't do it out of need. And that was the biggest mistake that I made, was just say, hey, look, we have a team. This is amazing. There's a few agents with us. Build a team. When you're building a team, make sure that you build it out of need, and you staff appropriately according to what it is that you want the business to look like. So you have the right personnel at the right positions, doing the right tasks, doing what you want them to do. And again, this is to support your vision in the business and how you want your clients to be handled, how you want systems to run smoothly, things like that. So I adopted the core model, the core coaching program model. That's the model that I adopted. I've tried a lot of others. They didn't work. I switched from out of ego to necessity, and I built the team to support the vision that I had for the business and how the experience that I wanted my clients to have. And when I did that, things just started clicking. It felt natural, it felt good. And I have now the agents that are with me now. I have one that's been with me for 2 years out of the 5 years I've been in the business. Another one just crossed the 1 year mark. Another one has now been with me for 3 months. And then our administrative team, 6 months. We're doing the right things this time. So do it out of necessity, and making sure that you're building the business around to support your vision.
And I appreciate that, because that's kind of hard to admit, because a lot of times, being a real estate agent and an entrepreneur in real estate, we have an ego. We all do. So doing it for the right reasons. Outstanding advice. Sue, do you have some advice for Trixie?
Well, Trixie, I think it's going to depend on what you want. There again, what you want your team to look like, and as Gabe said, why you're having a team. But however that shakes out for you, and all of what Gabe said, yes, is phenomenal. I think the most important is that your team is aligned with the integrity that you share in the business and your beliefs of how the business should be run. And when I say run, I mean operating face-to-face with customers and clients, and what is their level of service compared to your level of service. Those all need to be in a line, or it isn't going, I don't believe, going to be successful. So, integrity.
Brenton, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, we're a very young team, but part of ours starting with the need was just the main need was on the admin side. I know where my strengths are, and that's in the social and all that, but build a team based on who's more successful in different areas. And so a team is kind of like a marriage. It's important that everyone has different giftings and different skills. And if you're just hiring a bunch of people that are clones of yourself, I don't know that you're making the whole better. And so anyway, so that's what we did, is I looked for people who were unlike me, but shared those common values, just like Sue mentioned. And if you can find people that have those values first, the rest is a lot easier. It's way easier to weed people out at the beginning than it is to have to weed people out after they're already in. And so it's worth going slow, I think.
And I love that advice. I'm going to give a shameless plug. We actually, in C21 University, we teach a class. It's called Team Up. And that also goes over another course that we have. It's called People. It's about how to hire and how to engage with people. And I think one of the things that you said, Trenton, is that, you know, when you bring somebody in to your team, one of the best practices another agent shared is if they don't match your culture right away, if you don't, you know, they don't have the same value set, they're not living that same vision, they don't have a buy-in, get rid of them early because they can be toxic. They can absolutely be toxic. Well, gang, I have to say, I appreciate everybody in your time today. It's been an amazing last 90 minutes. I've learned even more than I did before, which I absolutely love. So I want to thank everybody, Sue, Trenton, Gabe, and also our Kelly in the background that's been making sure everything's been running smoothly. And any other last questions? I think I'm all up to date, everything that's been in the Q&A and everything that's been in the chat. But again, thank you guys so much for being here and for being part of our Century 21 family. I truly appreciate it. And have a great day. Yep. Thanks, guys.
Pleasure.
Bye.